Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio. My name is Chris Lopez, and I came here originally in 1988. I thought I was coming for my son because I wanted him to have some type of religious education, but not dogma. But it turns out I really was coming for me. I'm on the worship committee and a member of the choir. As we connect virtually in weekly worship, we do so with the intention to gather in a safe way and to receive information and inspiration. At our church, we believe and act as if we are united by universal love that binds us in mutual care and affection, especially in our work for justice for all and for our planet. Our faith is all-inclusive, and all means all, really. If you're new to us or visiting for the first time, we welcome you to sign in on the chat stream. We'd like to get to know you and follow up with you. Wherever you are on your life's journey, we hope you will find your place with us.
There is a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There is a river flowing in my soul. There is a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I am somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There is a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I am somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There is a river flowing in my mind.
Hi, my name is Nicole Meneses, and along with my husband Ron and daughter Maya, we've been members of First UU for 14 years. When I light the chalice, I hear an invitation to welcome gratitude. I am grateful that we are the blessings for each other.
We are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all are welcome as blessings, and the human family lives in forgiveness and grace, whole and reconciled. We know that this aim takes work, and so we are committed to live and behave as a community in covenant. Let's recite our covenant that articulates our guidelines and binds us together in community. The words can be found on your screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. An adaptation by Joseph Mabry titled, When Privilege and Oppression Intersect. I hurried down the sidewalk, pretending not to hear the cop who was close on my tail. "Stop," he called out. I was tired of being harassed by the campus police, who seemed to be on high alert for me every time I left the dorm. He yelled at me to stop again, so I angrily turned to face him. This is not the story you think it is. The police officer was not following me because of my skin color. He was profiling me, yes, but not because of my race. As a white man, I do not have the experience of the disproportionately high number of people of color who are targeted by law enforcement. No, I was being profiled by the police because I was blind. The police officer who followed me that day was assuming that as many people assume, that I need help. However, I do sometimes wish that people could see past my blindness. I wish that the police officer could have seen me as a competent student, confidently walking down the sidewalk I used every day. Instead, all he could see was the long white cane I used to get around, waving back and forth like a white flag of defeat and helplessness. "Wait," he called after me. "I'm trying to help." "I understand that," I replied, "but I don't need your help, and I'm running late. I know where I am, and I know where I am going, and I don't need your help." I always assumed these outbursts of frustration toward the police were due entirely to my experience as a blind person. However, recently I came to the realization that my identity as a white male also plays a role in such confrontations. The honesty and aggression that I sometimes use to voice my frustration at the police are manifestations of white privilege. I get frustrated at the police as a blind man, but I freely express that frustration as a white man. Such experiences have caused me to realize that when it comes to oppression and privilege, each of us lives with multiple identities that shape our experience of the world and how we are perceived.
For all of the joys and sorrows shared, and for all those not shared, but still held in our hearts, let us give thanks. And now let's take a moment to follow our breath into those places that we have rushed past all week. With each breath, I invite you to go deeper and find that part of your own center that needs attention. Breathing in, breathing out. Let this be a moment of respite from all of the doing and striving and adjusting. Let this be a moment of respite even from contemplation and reflection. You do not have to achieve anything at this moment. Instead, go home to the blood in your veins. Go home to your skin with its prickles and itches. Go home to the weight of gravity upon your bones. Go home to the inward rush and outward surrender of your own breath. Go home to the center of your own being. Breathing in, breathing out. Blessed be. This is a story about Nasruddin. Nasruddin, some people say that he was a foolish person. Some people say that he was a wise person. I'll let you make up your mind. One day, Nasruddin was walking along a road. It was a hot day. There was a tree. He decided he would go and sit in the shade and rest for a few minutes. He sat down, he placed his back against the tree, stretched out his legs, and enjoyed a moment of rest. He looked up into the leaves. There's a little round thing. Pecans. It's a pecan tree. Then he looked across the road and he saw there was a field full of big round watermelons. It was a watermelon field. He started thinking about it and he started thinking, this is a big tree and it has these little tiny pecans. But those watermelon vines, they're all floppy and they're low on the ground and they have those great big watermelons. That doesn't fully make sense. Why would a great big tree have tiny little nuts and little low plants have those great big watermelons? I mean, that doesn't stand to reason. I mean, like think of mice. Mice have little tiny mice babies, little mouse babies, and elephants have great big elephant babies. You think a big thing would have big babies and little things have little babies? Why does this big tree have these little tiny nuts and those little spindly vines have those great big watermelons? That does not, God made a mistake. That's what he's thinking. God mixed something up here and his thoughts were going round and round. Nasruddin had this going in his mind. He was thinking of mice and elephants and pecans and watermelons, and he was thinking, and his mind was stirred up, and all of a sudden, ow! A pecan fell on his head. He thought about it. He thought about what would that have been like if it had been a watermelon on his head. And at that moment, Nasruddin decided maybe God hadn't made a mistake after all. What do you think?
As we enter the time of our offering, let us remember that we give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. May we grow in generosity. We give to remember that we are part of a community bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in beauty, love, music, nature, justice, science, grace, and people. We are becoming our own version of beloved community, and I invite all to consider the level of commitment that means to you. You may make an offering on our online giving portal through the link on the screen while we enjoy the music.
You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged, oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness inside you makes you feel so small.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. But I wonder what could
When I see your
Everybody's been there, everybody's been
Don't be
stared down by
unhappy,
the
can't
enemy.
remember
Fallen
when
for the fear and done some
I
disappear.
saw you
Now down to
laughing.
the mighty.
If this world makes you crazy and you take it
Just
on
don't
from there,
forget.
just call me up and you know I'll be there. Call me up and you know I'll be there. Call me up, come on. How big your brain is, say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. What you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. Your true colors are beautiful.
And since your history of silence,
I can't remember when I saw you laughing.
let your words be anything but empty.
Just call me up, you know I'll be there. And I'll see your true colors shining through. Let me true colors are beautiful like a rainbow. I gotta see your true colors. Let them show. I wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. I wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you. Don't be afraid.
This is our work. Have you watched any of those shows on television that trace the genealogies and DNA of famous people? They take whatever stories, shreds, photographs that a person might have and a DNA sample, and then they go off, do all the research, and in the end, sit down with the person and show them all that they found. The names, photographs, ship manifests, marriage certificates, the little bit of genetic code that points to a specific branch of human migration. I love those shows. I especially love the one with Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. because he really addresses the complexities of families, secrets, and the history of race in this country. A few years back, my family got up our courage and we began that line of investigation. We were hoping to sift out fact from fiction because there was a lot of dubious tales from less than reliable narrators. We wanted to find out if a great-great-aunt really had come from Damascus, or if our great-grandmother had come from India, or if our great-great-grandmother was full-blooded Mayan. We didn't know. We were curious. And we hoped that the DNA would fill in our incomplete stories. It might answer some questions. But in the end, I knew what it would show. That I am a post-colonial mutt in 21st century America. As a multiracial person, I am supremely ill-suited to speak on the experiences of being white or black or brown, because I am all of these and none of these. But I can speak from my own experience, and I've had some interesting experiences. And I can speak as a person whose family contains the whole palette of human coloring. Mine is a calico family with blonde hair and black hair and brown hair and hair that is smooth and hair that is curly and frizzy and brown eyes and green eyes and blue eyes and freckles and dimples. And when we grin, our cheeks rise up high. We have broad shoulders, wide feet. Our complexions range from fair and to deep, and our babies are especially beautiful. In my family, some of us identify as white, and some of us identify as people of color, and while you'd think that we would be completely comfortable talking about race and identity, we don't. We can, we have, but in general, we don't. And recently I tugged on one of those loose strings and I realized that we don't talk about race and identity because some of us are still struggling with passing. Passing as white. Passing as not colored, passing as acceptable. So here's where I can speak from the experience of passing, becoming acceptable, striving to be measured by the conduct of my brilliance while wearing an indeterminate skin. I can speak from the weird place of holding white privilege and being seen as not quite one of us. It's a weird place. Here's the awfulness of passing, knowing that your father, your grandmother, your ancestors sacrificed some of their own identity to make your life easier, to make it easier for you to go forward. Now, plenty of our ancestors sacrificed for us, sacrificed for our success, but denying one's own identity tends to leave odd scars on the family tree. As a mutt, I am used to complexity. I find the whole black-white racial labels to be woefully limiting and dangerous. Because that binary black-white, it allows for convenient boxes. And people don't live in boxes. There will be many ways that we dismantle the systems of racial oppression, but we're not going to do it rationally, and we're not going to do it all at once. But this is our work. To start this work, I'll invite you to travel with me for a while. Just come along. I can't ask you to fully understand the weird place that is my identity, but if you will accept my invitation, as we journey together, we might begin to see where you are weird too. I'm going to be bold and suggest that there are plenty of us who are very quietly passing in many different ways. Perhaps there are parts of your family that were not acceptable, not spoken of, not included in the family's history, either oral or written. In the work of becoming acceptable our families routinely edit out these histories, sometimes very consciously, sometimes out of fear. Maybe the family name was changed to make it acceptable to English ears. Maybe alcohol or drug addiction twisted the limbs of the family tree. Mental illness, violence, poverty, illegitimacy, abandonment, adoption. Were they called ugly names or denied opportunities because they didn't speak perfect American English yet? For some immigrants to this country, the whole upheaval and culture shock left them weak, unstable. I know that my own immigrant great-grandmother never quite got used to being colored, and it shaped her entire life in this country. I know that another of my great-grandmothers was fiercely intelligent, and she had to slide sideways through a world where women's lives were circumscribed by domesticity. As part of our journeying together, I would then invite you to go back into your own family and look closely at any gaps in the stories. Find the loose threads and see what knots tighten or come undone with some gentle tugging. Was there a time when any part of your family was unacceptable? Was there ever a time where they had to find a way to pass? And at what cost? At what cost to your grandfather, your mother, your aunts? What stories did they finally tell you to show that they had succeeded? Because in those stories were also the quiet warnings not to go back, not to ask, not to undo their work and their sacrifices. In these stories, you are reminded that being unacceptable is dangerous, and they love you too much to see you go back there. Now, take those stories, take those fears, and wear them. Breathe into the danger and the tension. Feel the complexity of benefiting from their sacrifices. Spend time getting used to the complexity. Did your family benefit from oppressing other people? Go examine that possibility. It's okay to be objective at first. But can you find maybe a specific person whose potential was blunted in their laboring for your passing? Hold that person in your mind as you consider how will you go forward. Before we can learn to hold full empathy for another who seems different, we first need to resolve any shame or discomfort that we might still be carrying from our own families. By looking at the compromises, the sacrifices that were made in the past, we can better honor them, and in doing so, learn how to honor the struggles of others. This is our work. And then once we've looked back at our own heritage, the work doesn't end. The next step is to look at our own selves. There are ways that we might silently be passing, hoping that we won't be looked at too closely or judged too harshly. Too often I hear in our Unitarian Universalist congregations that we are too homogenous, that we're too white, we're too affluent, we're too overeducated. And that's a really easy stereotype to bemoan. But it's too easy. It's too simple. And it's wrong. We're not some fictional place where all the women are strong and the men are good looking and all the children are above average. We aren't. We're more complicated than that. And that's because we're human beings. Yes, Unitarian Universalists are human beings. And just like our families might have been shaped by adversity, all of us who come into our congregations, who come into our churches, every one of them has struggled somehow. And some of us are still struggling to be acceptable, still struggling to pass by not acknowledging our whole selves, our complicated identities, our situations. Some of us are still grappling with economic insecurity, just getting by and having to make some really tough choices about choosing the medicine or the car payments. But we come to church and we smile and we don't mention those hard choices. Some of us are grieving terrible losses, and the rest of the world seems to think that we should be upright and optimistic, and so we come to church and we look thoughtful, and we don't mention how our hearts are done, maybe won't ever be done, being undone. Maybe it's hard staying sober. Maybe the medication isn't working quite well enough. Maybe it's hard not crying when you see a mother and baby, and even though the abortion or the miscarriage was a long time ago, but we come to church and we hope that no one asks us anything too personal. I want you to know, every Sunday morning, there is someone who thinks about joining in your worship service, but thinks, I can't go there like this. People will see me and they will think that I don't belong there. And so they aren't here with us because they weren't up to the effort that it takes to pass, to meet our standards of acceptability, whatever they or we might imagine those standards are. And this is why passing for normal, passing for successful or affluent is very problematic. It denies the full range of our experiences, and it prompts us to edit out the problematic parts of ourselves and our identities, and it denies us the chance for wholeness, connection. I often tell people that church should be the place where we come together to learn new ways of being in the world, and we learn best by experience and experiment. One of the things we will learn is how to dismantle racism and other forms of oppression, but we won't get it right the first time or the second. But we have to keep trying. It is the work that will heal our world. It is the work that will heal us as individuals. When Rabbi Jesus asks us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves, the hardest part is that second part, loving yourself fully. It gets easier if you think about the people who have loved you forward, your family, your friends, your partners, your teachers. Consider their love for you, and it might not have been perfect, but it was love. Look at the love that pushed you forward and see if its momentum can push you a little further toward greater love and empathy for others who are also working to be accepted, not just acceptable. This is our work. To witness and hold the fullness of one another's lives, even the tough spots, the wounded places, the uncertain moments. This is our work. Blessed be. Amen. As you go out into this world, please carry these words with you. You are essential to this world. May you know that you are beloved and belong in this world. Go in peace. Blessed be.